Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillahi amma ba'd. After extending gratitude unto Allah, we ask the peace and mercy of Allah unto our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We have our third question from a brother who is asking that he left for Techimai and is going to stay for a month. For how long will he be observing Qasr? I answer by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide my tongue to say the truth. Errors would come from my negligence, little knowledge, or out of the influence of shaitan. Qasr refers to reduction or reducing something from the Arabic language. So linguistically, when you hear qasr, it refers to admu itmami shay, that is failure to complete something. The opposite is reducing something. The technical meaning to qasr from the fuqaha, that is the jurist, they see it as admu itmami salati li ajali safar, that is failure to complete salat due to traveling. It can also mean inqasu adad raka'at fatasiru rubaiyya thana'iyya, that is reducing the number of raka'at from 4 to 2. That is what to refer to qasr. So if someone is on a journey and if someone is traveling, instead of him to observe salat with 4 raka'ats, the religion of Islam reduces the burden on that individual for him to observe 2 rak'ahs instead of 4. So all salats with 4 rak'ahs are to be reduced to 2 rak'ahs anytime an individual finds himself traveling or on a journey. So Zuhr, Asr, and then Isha. But with Fajr prayer or Maghrib prayer, it still remains 2 and then 3, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason is the religion al-Islam, anytime there is a burden, there is automatic reduction as far as some rituals in the deen al-Islam is concerned. The reason is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the noble Quran mentions, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wants easiness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to burden the ummah. So anytime you're on a journey according to some scholars is aspect of what punishment. So the difficulties surrounding journey, the religion al-Islam reduces the burden of salat. Instead of 4 rak'ahs, you observe 2 rak'ahs due to the fundamental or the ruling from the scholars of fiqh, where they have al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir, difficulties are surrounded with what? Easiness, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All scholars have agreed unanimously, without any disagreement, that qasr is permissible as far as the deen al-Islam is concerned. Anytime you're on a journey, you can reduce 4 rak'ahs to 2 rak'ahs. There is no disagreement. The mahallun nidha, that is the bone of contention among scholars, among the jurists, among fuqaha, is whether qasr is wajib or voluntary. There are those that go with the view that qasr is wajib, that is the Hanafiya school of thought. They see that qasr is wajib, but with the majority of the fuqaha, majority of the jurists, with Malikiyya, Shafi'iyya, and then Hanabila, they see that qasr is voluntary, meaning if you engage in qasr, it is allowed. If you don't, there is no any punishment associated with that, unlike the school of Abu Hanifa, where they see that qasr is wajib. Failure to engage in qasr, you are going to be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we assemble all proofs from those that see that qasr is wajib and those that see that qasr is voluntary, the preferred view is that qasr is not wajib, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What then is the proof of what qasr? The dalil is found in Surah An-Nisa verse 101, where Allah mentioned, وَإِذَا ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاهٌ أَن تَقْصُرُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. Allah mentioned when you find yourself traveling, when you are on a journey, there is no problem for you to reduce the number of raka'at from 4 to 2, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, there are requirements, there are certain conditions that need to be fulfilled before you can engage in qasr, inshallah. Here are the requirements which would get us to the answer of the brother who is going to stay in Techiman for a month and whether or not he is to observe qasr for that month, inshallah. The first one is the distance that will call for qasr. Scholars have disagreed. What distance will permit an individual to engage in qasr? There are those that see to be 48 miles. There are those that see that the journey should be a 3-day, 3-night journey. There are those that see that no, there shouldn't be any description, any distance associated with journey, provided the urf, the custom of the people, call something a journey. If you find yourself under that, you can engage in qasr. So what the people of a particular locality refer to as qasr, or refer to as what a journey, refer to as safar, then you can engage in qasr when you find yourself under that journey, inshallah. So with these three disagreements, three perspectives, three views from scholars, those that say 48 miles, those that say a 3-day journey, and those that go with the definition that is the Zahiriyya, they see that no, a journey cannot be given any distance. It's supposed to be left in the hands of what the custom of the people and scholars, inshallah, of the contemporary time. So what the individuals, what the scholars of that time, that locality refer to as what journey, then that one will call for qasr, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is no any specific distance associated. The next one, where do you start your qasr? Is it the very moment you have the intention of traveling? For example, you are in Kumasi, you want to leave Kumasi to Accra. The very moment you have the intention, can you start the qasr in your room? It's time for zuhr. Can you reduce? There are those that see that there's no problem, provided you have the intention of traveling. You start the qasr wherever you find yourself, provided you have that intention. The reason is innamal a'malu binniyat. There are those that mention no, there is the need for you to ensure that you have left your destination. So if you leave your destination, wherever you find yourself after leaving your destination, you can start qasr from there. There are those that see that you need to get to the destination, meaning if you are leaving Kumasi to Accra, you need to get to Accra before you can start qasr. These are views regarding where to start qasr. When you assemble all the proofs, the preferred view is when you leave your abode and you have the intention of what? Traveling. The very moment you leave your abode, you can start qasr wherever you find yourself, even if it is at the station. So if you are leaving Kumasi to Accra and you find yourself at the station, you can start your qasr there. The reason is you have left your home and you have the intention of traveling. That is the second requirement. The third requirement, what type of journey? There are those that say any journey, even if the journey is sinful. But there are some scholars that say no, the journey shouldn't be a sinful one. The journey should be a journey that is sin-free, meaning you are not going to engage in any deviant or any evil activity. So if you are leaving Accra to Kumasi and you are not going to engage in any evil activity in Accra, you are permitted to engage in qasr. However, if you are leaving Kumasi to Accra and you are going to engage in any evil or sin, there are scholars that see that you can't engage in qasr. The preferred view is for you to ensure that if you are going on a journey that is sin-free, that is when you are to observe qasr, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last requirement is for how long will you engage in qasr? There are those that mention when you get to the destination, you have 3 days, 3 nights as far as the observation of the qasr, reduction in salah. After the 3rd day, you are going to continue with your completion of the raka'at, inshallah. There are those that say no, there is no any 3 days, 3 nights as far as qasr is concerned. If you are going to stay in a particular place, leaving your abode, your residence to another place, you can observe qasr even if it is a year that you are going to stay there. Even if you are going to study in a particular country for 4 years, 6, 7, 8 years, you will be observing qasr till you leave that, inshallah. That is the second view. The third view is they mention that we look at the individual. If you get to the destination, as far as your journey is concerned, we consider that individual. Is he still classified as somebody traveling? If yes, he continues with the qasr. But if that individual is not classified as a traveler and he finds himself at the destination as far as his journey is concerned, he starts to complete his salat, and that is the preferred view. So the preferred view is not 3 days. The preferred view is not for you to continue journey even if it is 1 year that you are going to stay there. For example, you left Kumasi to Saudi Arabia to go and study for a 4-year program. somebody can decide that I'm still a traveler, so I'm going to engage in Qasr. We mentioned that you have specified the days that you are going to study in Saudi Arabia, so you can engage in Qasr. And when you look at the individual is not a traveler because you've been given an abode, you've been given where to stay. The burden of a journey is no more on you, and you know the number of days you are going to stay there, inshallah. So the number of days to observe Qasr is left on the individual. If he is still classified as a traveler, he doesn't know the number of days to stay there, he doesn't have an abode, he has not rented a place, and he doesn't know for how long he's going to stay at that particular place, he can engage in Qasr. But if he has specified the number of days and he is no more referred to as a traveler, he starts to complete his salat, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the requirements briefly under Qasr, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Ma'as salam.